But moving on, fresh US sanctions on Russian oil, will that actually disrupt Indian imports? That's the key that we need to watch out for. However, the government is not too concerned about the cascading impact of fresh sanctions on Russian oil and the rupee depreciation. Rishabh spoke to the officials as well. Let's get him to understand more what they have to say. Rishabh, over to you.
What we're learning from top government sources is that they are very much wary of the fact that the US has imposed sanctions on Russia, but the impact on India will not be much, especially given that crude prices have remained stable over the past few years, as well as the ministries, across ministries, there is no sort of fear that there will be impact, especially on the trade routes that are there. Apart from that, also getting some inputs on the rupee depreciation, where we've seen rupee depreciate quite a bit over the last few days. There's also not a lot of concern on that, given that India's forex reserves have been very, very robust. There is also a thought that India's services exports, which have been doing well over the past year or so, will also stand to benefit with the rupee fall and rather the dollar strengthening, because that's where the dollar money is coming from, given that India is becoming a very, very large exporter of services. So that is the latest that is coming from top government sources.
Right. Thanks, Rishabh, for getting us the details. So interesting moves with regards to where the rupee goes, as well as how oil prices move is going to be interesting, because currently Brent crude is already above the $80 per barrel mark, and this is for the first time in the last 3 months, right? Now, Russian oil flows have been low, and this is on the back of the increased sanctions, and that is what has put pressure in terms of prices. The output has been lower from the OPEC as well. So, a lot of factors that we are watching out for. Now, this directly impacts the GRMs of oil marketing companies. So, EBITDA impact of every 0.5 per litre change will actually see an impact on IOC, BPCL and HPCL, and that is to the tune of almost 7%, 8% and 11% respectively. Sharmila, very quickly coming to you, taking this aspect into consideration, the way crude prices are moving, taking US sanctions on Russian oil, how imports will pan out, what would you advise investors to do with OMCs?
Well, very honestly, for me, all this is very concerning, and not just the current scenario, but this is a sector which sort of impacts us very directly in terms of the kind of inflation numbers that you get. Also, it's very politically sensitive in that sense. So you though they are now supposed to be allowed to price petrol and diesel freely, there is always some amount of control that comes in. Even when prices go down, there is control. So you try to keep the petrol and diesel price in a sort of a band. So that said, this is very honestly over a period of time, this is the sector I've steered clear of. There could be positives, there could be negatives about the current situation, but I think that there are many stocks to choose from, many other sectors to choose from. So I very honestly just steer clear.